Alright guys, welcome to another Quadrant VS video, and today we're going to take apart my Android phone. Just a quick background, I was thinking about switching over to this. You know what this is? Once I turn it on, you should be able to see it. That's a Windows interface. Okay? That's a Windows interface. Brand new phone, it's in better condition than this phone. But this phone right here, Android and Windows, which one would you prefer? The one that has a lot of developer support? Open source and doesn't run Internet Explorer, or the one that does what the opposite of this phone? This phone has no developer support whatsoever. I used it for one day. I was 30 miles away from my house, and I pulled up the GPS. It says you are home. I'm thinking I'm not home. The GPS literally locked onto my house. I'm like, what is this? And I'm 30 miles away from my house. So, this phone, if GPS isn't good enough, nothing else will ever be. The bugs need to leave the operating system before I use it. So, this phone, I'm selling it on eBay. If you're interested in buying it, I think I'm posting it for $220, because it's in, I would say, 90% new condition. So, no charger. Anyway, let's get to fixing this phone. This phone, I was using it one day. The headset went out, the little earpiece, or it's called the receiver. That part went out. I was talking on the phone, and I couldn't hear anything out of here. It magically started working again. I got an ice cream sandwich on here. But it magically started to work again, and then it went out. And then it just didn't come back on. So now, I'm going to get that replaced. So we're going to take apart this phone. First, I'm going to look at the guide, and then I'm going to come back. Because I have to be refreshed on how to take this phone apart. So, it's going to probably be time-lapsed, so don't expect any in-camera narration. It's probably going to be, you know, what do you call it, narrating the video, but no in-camera narration. So here's the phone now. And there's all the apps. So I'm going to take this thing apart, and you're going to see it all. Here we go. Okay, these are your requirements here. Okay, and some wood, and the actual receiver itself. That's a receiver. That's the receiver right there. So, it's not in the frame. I'm going to make sure I back this out a little bit, so you can see the entire repair. Alright, let's get started with the repair. I am narrating this, so if you get any noise in the mic, please excuse me. Okay, as you see, you have to take off the back cover of the phone, the gorgeous metal cover that's gorgeous when you first buy the phone. Mine's kind of dinged up, but you have to take that off the phone first. Pop the battery out. In reality, you're supposed to take that SIM card. Okay, I did take it out. I am trying to remember when I did this video and how I did it, but yes, you have to take those things out, and please take your SD card out just to avoid any further issues. You can do it with the SD card in, but just, you know, for the protection of your data, take it out. So you see I'm laying out all the tools. I think I will throw the pictures of the tools in the video sometime. I guess it will appear now. Of the kind of screws you'll need. I believe these are torque screwdrivers, but if you buy off of this seller on eBay, I'll probably put an annotation in the video, this seller, or it'll probably be in the description. Buy it from him. Comes with the right tools. They fit. They didn't slip. You know, the screws didn't get stripped. Okay, now here you have 4 screws on each side, on the, you know, in the 4 corners. One will say void. That's just covering the screw, but you can put the screwdriver in there, start turning it so it can tear up that sticker, and then the screw will begin to turn. So this phone has never been opened before, so that's kind of good news for me anyway. So there will be 4 screws as you're seeing me take out here. The screws are magnetic, so they will stick to the screwdriver, which is good. Laptop screws are like that too. Usually these small screws, they are magnetic, so that's always good to have. That little gold thing you see on the rear of my phone, that is a signal booster. But when I found out my antennas were not right, you know, on that panel, because that's a digitizer, and as you see I'm zooming in here, that's digitizer. The antennas are actually below. where the SIM card sits. Okay, now that all 4 screws are removed and my screwdriver wants to roll everywhere, all 4 screws are now removed. Now I'm going to use my pry tool to get the screen out. So this part's probably going to be rather long-winded, but I think I did cut a couple of parts. You are going to need to use some force. Be careful. This is a plastic frame, so don't be too forceful. I would recommend that you start pulling it from the right to the left and then the top, and then you should be able to get the screen out of the frame. Now, as you see here, I did attach another video. I probably made a mistake here, but I was trying to pull it apart with my finger. It's kind of more of a zoomed out of the what's going on here. I don't know if you can see that some of the frame is out, but some of the frame on the left and right is out. Now, as you see, I was able to pull it out, and most likely you're going to need to do it from the top first and then come around to the sides. So now we see the digitizer and the rear of the phone. You want to put that far away from you. Make sure your screws are far away from you also. Okay, SD card, like I was saying earlier. So I was able to get mine out even with the phone apart. As you see, I'm not wearing an anti-static strap. I don't think it's needed, but it's probably an extra precaution you should take. Okay, now at the top of the phone where you see the camera, that's where your receiver is. It's attached by a small, tiny wire. If the phone is, let me see, if the phone's facing you and the LEDs are facing your right, that's where the plug for your receiver will be. In most cases, there will be some black tape over it, and you can't see my hands anyway. This is supposed to show you, but there's some black tape over that wire and receiver. You want to peel that tape away. That is not a ribbon cable, so there's some black tape on it. I'm sure it's electrical tape. You want to peel that back, and it'll let your receiver loose, because it's kind of taped on, which is ghetto but not ghetto. See, as you see right now, it's attached to a small wire. So I'm just trying to make sure that it's not going to tear on me, or I don't tear the connector out, which is kind of impossible because it's soldered onto the board. And here's my little pry tool I'm using to get the connector from the logic board. I recommend you do this also. Please do not use anything metal, just as a precaution so you don't mess up anything on the logic board. So I pull on the cable as gently as possible, and it's free. That's the receiver right there. You know, in all my repair history or technology history, I've never known a receiver for going bad. And this is the first time I've ever thought about replacing a receiver in the phone. I've had speakers go bad, but not receivers. Okay, so I'm taking the receiver out the bag. There we go. So I sped this part up. This is me installing the receiver. You see I am installing the connector into the port on the logic board. Make sure, if you're looking at the connector, the wires are facing down toward the logic board. And you'll understand what I'm saying once you, if you're actually attempting to do this to your phone. And I'm placing the receiver in its spot. Now I have the phone in my hand, and I think I'm going to let the in-camera voice kick in here. Maybe not. So I have the receiver installed. I threw my SD card in, sped it up for you guys. I'm installing the screws back. You want to put the screws back where they belong. Okay. I put the battery back in. Putting the battery in. Powering up the phone. That's the old receiver right there. I threw it in the trash. And here it is, the slow motion version of me putting the battery in the phone and doing a final power up. So I don't know if I'm gonna let the invoice camera, the invoice camera kick in, but I guess I'll just finish narrating it. So I'm doing a power-up test, and as you see, it's not turning on. Something with these phones, I guess it wasn't mine, but the battery connectors are sometimes pushed out of place, and they're flexible, so you want to make sure they're straight. I guess it's just with my phone. So I fixed that, turned the phone on. Of course, my phone has been magic loaded or hacked, okay, if you want to put it that way. So it's going to load the boot manager, then it's going to load the operating system. There's the new operating system logo, and ta-da, phone's booting up. And of course you won't be able to hear me make a call, but this did work for me on the first time. I did, however, have some issues. Not with the receiver, but with my speaker. I want to give you a warning. I'm probably going to put the picture here. I guess if I put it in here, the rear of the panel where the camera, where the LEDs are, there is a speaker on that, and that speaker is embedded onto that, onto the rear panel, and it's powered by something on the logic board. So it's basically like a metal part against a metal part, and then it gets its power from that. And if that's blocked, or it doesn't come in full contact with that, your speaker's not going to work. So make sure there's nothing blocking that when you put the phone back together, and you won't have any issues at all. So thanks for watching on how to replace your HTC HD2 receiver. Stay tuned for any of my upcoming videos and tutorials.